everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Toffer. Thanks for listening. You know, my wife Vicki and I have owned and operated our photography studio, V Gallery, for 20 years now. White House has been our lab for the last 16 of those years, and we could not be happier. White House is a family-run business, just like ours. If you haven't already, check them out at whcc.com. And if you want to drop me a line, feel free to email me at jed@whcc.com. I've found it a joy to speak with someone who's authentic. I've also found that a necessary trait for authenticity is vulnerability. Being able to recognize your flaws or weaknesses, whether past or present, is powerful. And I think it can lead to something even more powerful: confidence. I was having some trouble with something the other day, and my 6-year-old son was watching me. After failing to get it right for the third or fourth time, he spoke up. "Just have confidence, Dad. That's all you need," he said, as serious as he could be. And he was right. Confidence is that powerful and important. Cara Marie knows this, and she knows it from her own experience. Her photography is niched in a way that inspires confidence in her clients, and many times, that's exactly what they need. Well, let's start off by you telling me who you are and all about yourself and where you're from and what you do and all that stuff.
Awesome. I'm Cara Marie Trombetta. My last name kind of gets dropped off now. Now I'm just Cara Marie.
Yeah.
It's a little easier. I'm based in Austin, Texas, and I have 2 photography studios there. One of them is the one that I shoot out of. I am, if you have to classify it and put it in a box, it's more like boudoir style photography, but I don't even put myself in that box anymore. I shoot, I'm black and white specialized, and I specialize in just photographing women. And the majority of my work is in some state of undress or another. So I have my shooting space there in Austin, and then I have a second studio that is just a rental studio. I got so many inquiries to rent out my studio space, and I'm always using it. So I acquired a second space that I can rent out to other photographers hourly. So I have that little side business going on too. And I'm an educator, and I teach little workshops and mentorships here and there, and just recently did the boudoir series with the Portrait Masters, and here we are.
Do you sleep?
I do, actually very well. I rise very early. I wake up around...
You're an early bird.
I am. I get up, I don't know that I would say by choice, just kind of my lifestyle ended up making that happen. But about 4:45 in the morning is my wake up call.
Is
and
that
then,
right?
Yeah, but I am in bed by 8:30, usually sleeping by 9:30. So I go to bed and I sleep a full 8 hours at least.
Yeah,
so
you get plenty of sleep.
I get my sleep. Yeah, I do sleep. I have to.
Yeah, you would need to.
Yep, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about what you say regarding the boudoir box, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
You don't like that.
Well, I don't, only because I think that it's really important when you're a photographer that you create your own niche. Like you create your own genre. So by just saying someone is a maternity photographer, I think that's just way too broad. Or someone's a family photographer, that's too broad. So I've spent many years just keep honing in on exactly what it is my style. And I think just by saying I'm a boudoir photographer or a portrait photographer, it wouldn't describe accurately at all what I do. And it is something that I still struggle with putting into words exactly what I almost have to show it. But I've just always been really inspired by like the kind of like the rock star aesthetic. Like I just like the cool girl look. So like messy hair, like undone, less is more on makeup, and just really kind of comfortable in your own skin. And so my work is very like cool and confident, and not what you would think of if you think of boudoir style photography. So
it's an extension of you, though, isn't it?
Absolutely is.
It's who you are.
It is. Yeah, it's very because I don't put a whole lot of effort into my appearance every day, but I always look kind of put together, and my hair is always kind of a mess, and I'm
goodness.
just like,
I stepped into that.
No. I take that as
like cool
actually
and
a compliment.
confident.
No. But that's what I consider to be cool and confident, honestly, because I don't find the need to invest that much time and energy into, making sure everything is perfect. And I'm really comfortable in that. I feel really good about the fact that I can just it can take me 10 minutes to walk out the door and feel good about myself at the same time. So yeah, it's a big thing. And it took me a lot of soul searching, and because most women have a hard time getting there.
Why don't
some
you?
women never do.
How come you don't?
It just took years. I think, honestly, genuinely, I think it was so many years of hearing and seeing other women that were in front of my camera just beating themselves up and not comfortable at all in front of not comfortable in front of the mirror, let alone in front of a camera. And I'm like, I couldn't wrap my head around it because, they're so beautiful. But then I'm like, well, that's a little hypocritical of me, because if somebody else was photographing me, I'd be like, now, what is that angle? Or
you'd be really self-conscious.
Yeah. And I just thought, well, that's no way to live. So over time, I got better and better about it. And then genuinely, I wish I had something to, a life event or something to attribute it to. But eventually I just woke up and I was fine. I was just comfortable with who I was. It was just the craziest thing. It was probably about 3 years ago, and my life's been a lot easier and lighter because I'm not constantly worried about, what people are thinking and how's my face or how's my, I just got comfortable because everybody, I would listen to these women oh, my thighs, and I'm like, oh, you have beautiful, your legs are amazing, or oh, my stomach. I'm like, you had 2 babies and that's incredible.
Right.
You made that, you did that. Right. So I guess I finally just started believing everything that I was saying, because it was true. You started
believing what you were saying to other people and applying it to yourself.
Yeah.
So is that a big piece of what you do, or essentially why you do what you do?
Absolutely.
Is because you're pretty fired up about that.
It's all everything that I do is to inspire confidence in women. I just want to see more confident women in this world. And we're getting there. We're getting more of that, and women are discovering their voices, and we're getting a lot more body positivity. And it's just been kind of an incredible movement over the last several years. Really, it's also new. Women becoming very independent, and more women and more households having women-led, women breadwinners in the household, which is really cool. And I shouldn't say breadwinner, because my husband has his own. He's a brilliant businessman in his own right, but our household is always kind of shocking to people because we have 2 kids. We've been together for 20 years, my husband and I, and he does the cooking, and he does a lot of the more domestic things. Yeah. And I'm always the one traveling for business and making a lot more money. And he's proud of it. He likes to call himself a trophy husband, but he sells himself short because he does so much too. But it's kind of an anomaly. Everyone's like, wait, what? Because, we'll be on a flight somewhere, on a plane somewhere, and there'll be somebody sitting next to us, and they'll be talking over me to him. So what do you do for a living? And he's like, I'm her support system. She makes all the money, kind of thing.
And
he likes to see, their reactions, and I think he enjoys it.
I'm sure he does.
But yeah,
I'm sure he does.
Yeah, he's having fun with it.
You mentioned a little bit in your program yesterday, because I got to see most of your program, and help me with this a little bit if you would, because I want to get this right, because I think it's a big deal. I hear the word empowerment. Or empowered women used a lot in conjunction with boudoir photography. And I get that.
Yes.
How do you handle that versus objectification of women? Because the objectification of women is so damaging. And I know, so everybody's on the same page with that.
Yeah.
But how do those things, how are they balanced, or how are they approached by you when you do what you do?
Well, I think I think so much of the confusion comes into place because the word empowered is used so frivolously.
Is it?
Oh, it is. It's thrown around, and I find that the word is used a lot in that genre.
It is. I hear it all the time.
Well, and I find that they do it because this is my blanket statement, and this is certainly not true in every case, but I did it as well, where I was using the word empowering because I felt insecure about what I was offering, and I knew that there was a stigma about it. So I wanted to give it something more. I wanted to like show the world, like, no, this isn't about, it's not about sex. It's about empowering women. But was I really empowering them by having them, overarched and like just showing their butt? Like, it's up for interpretation, I suppose. But I don't think that I don't think that I was doing women justice at that time when I was shooting in that capacity.
Why
in that
not?
way, because there's so much more to a woman than her sexuality.
Okay.
And I am very like, embrace your sexuality, own your sexual power, like, awesome. But there's just giving women that, making it so that is their only layer is really selling them tremendously short.
Okay.
So I changed my narrative, and it shifted over the years, and it's gotten more and more so. But now everything that I say and everything that I show and everything that I talk about is about, talking about the woman's inner beauty, talking about her accomplishments, telling her story, and not just saying, look at this hot picture, because that's not doing her any justice. And that's selling her. She's got accomplishments and talents and intelligence and power. And it's really important that you are showing that as well. And now I feel like I actually am empowering women, whereas before I was just saying it so I felt better about what I was sharing with the world.
That's really honest.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't expect that. Sometimes it takes a while to figure it out, but once I figure it out, I'm very open and transparent about it. And if you saw my presentation yesterday, you know that. I showed my bad work. I showed my old stuff.
That was great. Though.
Yeah.
When you said it's a good thing I got that grass.
And because everybody, right? I mean, everybody goes through that evolution of their business, and they're so ashamed. And sure, it's embarrassing. Of course, it's embarrassing, but it's important to be grateful for that and know that you're better than you were last week and better than you were last month, and just keep growing and evolving. And that's good news that you're doing better.
But what you're talking about, what strikes me is what you're talking about is about so much more than merely technique or style. Like, it seems to me that it's a bigger deal. Like there's a dimensionality to it, right? Because you're not just you don't want it just to be. You certainly don't want your subject or the woman to be objectified, right? It's not about that.
Right.
It's about, if the difference is between the two, the multidimensionality regarding her personality and and who she is and what her story is, right? You said that.
Yeah.
How do you intentionally, what do you do intentionally when you go into a situation to capture and convey that? What's the difference?
It's really genuinely in every ounce of my business and every ounce of the actual image. So I am talking about their body language. I'm changing their body language for them. If they are not already screaming confidence with everything that they're doing, I raise their chin. I drop their shoulders. I open them up and make them look more proud and confident. So even if they're feeling uncomfortable in that moment, just by shifting them into that body confidence, that posture, it automatically shifts them into feeling like, okay, wow, like I'm not cowering. I'm not like flirting over my shoulder. You don't see a lot of that in my work, because my work, my whole brand message is you're doing this for yourself. Like it's fine if you have a partner and you want to give them a few of the photos, great.
Right.
But this isn't about them. If you wanted to give your husband a nice gift, buy him a watch. Like women were using it as an excuse, to like do this because we're not that selfless. Like
I understand.
So like body language. Everything that I talk about, like I'm not saying anything like, oh, look at this hot image of this beautiful woman and look at her, like those legs though, or that butt, like that, because it's not about that. It's about like how strong she looks, like look how confident she is. Like she is a mother of 3 and a career woman and this and that. And I'm telling her story. And I think that those things combined with finally finding my own style, which is what I talked a lot about at the Portrait Masters Conference, was, how can you inspire confidence through your work if you're not confident in who you are, who you are as an artist, who you are as a person. And so many photographers struggle so hard to find their style, and it's part of the journey. It's absolutely part of it. And it took me a while, but I didn't understand my style until I understood fully who I was. Some people never get there.
So it was all the more important for you.
Absolutely.
To work on yourself.
There's a really fascinating parallel in my life, like between my personal life and my business life. And it's, I've always been booked. I've always been good at building my business and marketing myself and filling my schedule and getting, the clients in the door. That's never been a problem for me, but I was unfulfilled in other ways. Like I didn't feel like I was able to be, I couldn't take myself seriously as an artist because I didn't feel like I was being an artist. I just thought that I was being like a, high volume in and out. Like I didn't feel like I was making a tremendous enough impact, and I wanted more from that. And then as I learned more about myself and, why that started a lot with my own, insecurities, learning why I was feeling insecure and actually taking those moments where I was feeling uncomfortable with myself and really deep diving into why it was I was feeling that way.
Was that scary?
Yeah, of course.
It sounds scary to
it
me.
is. It's terrifying. And it's like, if women, we got a lot going on in our heads. We're we're amazing and we're powerful and we're also we just have so many emotions and there's so much going on in there. So it's really hard for many of us to take an honest look because we're very quick to get defensive. And, there was this little meme that was circulating Instagram and Facebook, and it said something like unfollow the accounts, referring to the social media accounts, but unfollow the accounts that make you feel less than. And everybody was sharing it all over the place. And
I remember that.
And I said, wait a second, but why? Why does it, let's ask ourselves, why does this woman being in a swimsuit on the beach make me feel insecure? Does that have anything to do with her?
Right.
So are we isolating ourselves from everything that makes us now feel like we wish we had that?
Right.
So let's maybe assess that first.
So the alternative is, instead of unfollowing it, work on yourself so that you don't feel less than.
Right. Yeah. Because otherwise, who are you going to follow? Mr. Rogers.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Who are you going to follow?
Right.
Because if you're insecure, you'll find reasons to be insecure about
whatever.
Anything.
Right.
And it's just really important that you take an honest look at why those things are bothering you. And
it still sounds terrifying, but I think
of course
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it makes sense. It seems to me like that would be the way to get stronger. Rather than just than to simply unfollow and then cut it out of your life.
Why not celebrate her? And for me, I find that the women that I have a really strong network of friends. I have a very small circle of really incredible friends, and a much bigger circle of really awesome business contacts.
Sure.
But I think with women in particular, we're so quick to, be jealous and wish that we had X, Y, and Z of somebody else's. And in my particular case, it was always people were threatened by my success in my business.
Right.
I had to have sit downs with a couple of my, close friends that it was always kind of like a frenemy situation where they were never quite happy for me if there was a big career movement or something like that. But I would always be their cheerleaders, and I would always be giving them advice and whatnot.
Right.
So I had to have these real come to Jesus talks with them.
Wow.
Now let's dissect
How did that
this.
go?
Why? Not well.
It
not well,
didn't?
Jed. No.
Well, I can relate to some degree too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, it's hard because our instant reaction when somebody approaches us with that is defensiveness.
Defense. Yep.
And the more that they sit on it, though, and I've grown to be. I always attribute this to my husband because he's like an excellent negotiator, and he's he'll win any argument, but like he does it really calm, so it's really frustrating because like you can get like all heated and be jumping up and down in your seat and foaming from the mouth and turning red, and he just kind of like smirks and he's cool as a cucumber. But in the moment that you're wrong and you're being irrational, you know it, but you just want him to be wrong so bad, and you know he's not. So I learned a lot in these 20 years with him on how to handle people, and now like I let them get mad, I let them jump around in their seats, and I ask the right questions, and I point out the right things, and I'm like, I get it because I was there, and I'm like, I just love you, and I just want to help you, and I'm here if you want it, and so I'm going to tell you what I think, and sit on it. And let's chat about it when you're ready. And like, brave. So it goes better then. Yeah. But like, I didn't start doing that until more recently, until I essentially woke up from all of that too, because I went through it all.
But if you can get to the other side of a conversation like that with somebody, that person is who belongs in that tight circle, don't you think? Like the small. Oh yeah. The small group of people. I love good, like, honest conversations with people. And, like, I appreciate that in my friends when they point out to me, like, when you said X, Y, and Z, I know, like, it really, like, offended me and it hurt my feelings. And, yeah, I love when people are able to point that. Or, like, maybe don't wear that dress. Like, even that. Like, I love that kind of, like, honesty. I want to know. I don't want people blowing smoke. I don't, like, because there's enough, conversations with agendas, and there's enough fake friendships and all of that out there. I want authenticity through and through. And I really value that. And I always wish that more people did. Well, that kind of circles back to what we were talking too. I feel like the authenticity piece is also another big part of maybe what you're trying to intentionally convey. Yep. And it also seems to me, I was thinking when you were saying that stuff, that things like posing and lighting are that much more important. Yeah. I don't mean to like downplay that it's not important to know how to pose a family if you're going to photograph a family, but it seems to me like what you're doing, and with the mindset that you have and with the goals that you have and what you want to convey, that knowing how to light, knowing how to pose, and being able to communicate that with the person you're photographing is that much more important. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And even like showing authenticity I like to show authenticity in my images, and that's something that's come, it's still a work in progress because women are still having a hard time seeing their natural beauty. Like they're having a hard time seeing that wrinkles are not a bad thing, and they're having a hard time not hating their stretch marks. They're having a hard time, but what the media, which is us, we're photographers, so we're a part of that. Yeah, in a sense. By polishing all of that away and making everything essentially perfect before presenting it to the world. Number one, you're telling the person that you just photographed that they weren't good enough as they were, and we need to like fix all of that. I see. Okay. And then number two, in order to be photographed by me, you also have to be flawless. It's a work in progress, and I still, I retouch, and there's an art to that, and I think it can be done really well and really amazing. But I'm starting to show more. I'm starting to get more women finally. Now that I'm showing the work, I'm starting to get more women that are okay with showing, their side creases or their muffin tops or their stretch marks or their wrinkles. And I love that. And I'm so glad that we're getting, and big brands are starting to show a lot more authenticity, which is incredible. Yeah, that's a big deal. It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. What sort of things do you purposefully do regarding the experience then, right? For them? Because this is another thing, like with the type of photography that you focus on, the experience itself has to be thought of in a way that makes sense, and that because you want to try to set them at ease. You can't be contradicting yourself with your message and then what you end up showing. So what do you do like from when they come in? Yeah. Like how is that experience handled from you from when they come in to be photographed? Yeah. What does that look like through the process? It actually is, it starts so much longer before they actually set foot in the door. Right. So I don't do, because I am pretty high volume and I'm only one photographer. Right. I
don't do like in-person consultations or
Okay.
anything like that prior to, but I've made it a point to make sure that my website and my prep, like everything that my client sees or anything that a prospective client would see coming
Yeah.
to my website is enough information that any questions that would pop into their mind are answered already.
There. Right.
And I take care of all of the questions about the cellulite and the questions about the wrinkles and how much editing do you do. I answer all of those things ahead of time. I'm not going to be for everybody. And there is certainly a market for photographers. There's a huge market for photographers from clients who want to be like fully polished, fully
Sure.
photoshopped. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So by being very transparent about what my editing philosophy is and what I encourage. Now, of course, I take out blemishes, take out
Yeah.
bruises. I polish my images.
Right.
It's not, I'm not like a completely like shoot it and there you
Right.
go. Yeah.
Right.
But I'm doing a little skin smoothing and
Sure.
whatnot. But I'm very transparent about that. They have a little homework assignment prior. So I make them do a kind of like a visual mood board so we can get a good idea for the types of images, like the aesthetic that they're drawn to.
Okay.
And the types of, it's really fascinating because if I were to ask a woman to articulate to me exactly what it was that she wanted to see in her photos, she'd be like, I don't know. I like everything you do. Like, that's what they
Right.
would say. Or like, I picked you because I like your work.
Right.
Like, cool. But like, even within my work, there's a whole wide array of
Right.
things that I can offer and the
Right.
things that I can do. So I would love to know like what it is that they wouldn't be able to articulate that to me. So I make them do this little visual mood
So
board.
do
I use
they
Pinterest
pull
because I like
images
it.
from or Pinterest.
Yeah, I use Pinterest. I have a whole bunch of like boards already set to go
Okay.
so they can pull from
That's
them.
good. That's a
But
good
I
tool.
also encourage them to seek elsewhere too, because
Right.
I'm fine with it, and I let them know explicitly that this is absolutely not like to replicate anything, but I want to get a really good idea. And I
Yeah.
look at this board for maybe 5 minutes tops, but I scroll through and I can get a really perfect idea of
Right.
like what they have in their mind, what they're expecting.
Right.
Sometimes they are like fully glamorized, like magazine
Sure.
portraits. And I'm like, interesting. But it's fascinating because I'll scroll through and I'll notice, oh my gosh, there is zero face in any of these. Like your hair is in front of it. Like there's hair in front of the face, or they're all anonymous type images.
Oh.
And somebody might not think to articulate that to me when I asked them what they
Right.
wanted. And I honestly, like, they'll do the homework and they'll come in and we'll be reviewing their board together. And I'm like, did you happen to notice that none of these show any face? And they're like, oh my
So-
God, no, I didn't notice.
So you have that conversation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have a full conversation. I point out what I notice in their boards.
Uh-huh.
Like I noticed that these are all like more along the lines of fine art nude. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I guess.
Sure.
A lot of times I'll be like, okay, so these are all nude, and they're like, oh yeah, but I don't want to be nude. I'm like,
You're like, huh?
yeah, interesting, because that's not what your brain told you when you were putting these. So it's really fascinating to do that little homework assignment,
Yeah.
and then we have a full blown. We essentially have our consultation at the time of the shoot,
Right.
if you want to call it that. But
Sure.
we sit down prior and we talk about. I ask them why they're doing the session,
Right.
and then they give me a stupid answer, and I dig deeper because
that
it's
right?
always like, oh, my birthday's coming up, or it's for my husband, or like, it's our anniversary, or
So
whatever.
what are the real reasons? then?
Well, I'm like, okay, but what do you expect to come out of this session with? Like, what do you want to, do you want anything to change? Do you want to feel differently about yourself? Is there anything? And that is when it starts, well, I don't like this, or I haven't really felt like myself, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember myself as a woman. I just remember, like, I know myself as a mom.
Oh.
And that is really,
Wow.
that's so common.
That's a
It's
big one.
So, it's every woman, because for the first year or 2 years of after having a child, that's a pretty big job. That's all your time.
Yeah.
And once you get into the routine of just being like, I'm just a caregiver, like I'm a milk giver, I'm a caregiver, it's all about this baby. Once the baby starts to grow and gets a little bit more independent, and you
Yeah.
have more freedom, and you can go back to work or what have you, whatever your lifestyle is, it's hard to get out of the routine of it being all about something or somebody else.
Right.
And you don't take, most women don't get back into that until way down the line.
Well, that's something.
Yeah. So a lot of my clients are like that, or they're just coming out of a divorce,
Yeah.
and they're like, I just want to celebrate myself. Like, I want to feel good about myself.
Right.
For me, this is
Right.
like my re-release.
It's all for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we have like a pretty intense conversation. I make myself pretty, available, like social media and whatnot. So people tend to feel like they know me when they come into my
beforehand,
studio.
sure.
Yeah, even though we hadn't met, but they've been, I do stupid things on my Insta stories, and I'm pretty, I put myself out there in my brand, and they get so much information prior, so they're feeling pretty good about it. But then they come in and meet with me.
Disarming in and of itself.
Yeah,
that you're kind of vulnerable in that way.
Yeah,
to a degree. Then they see that for who knows how long, right?
Yeah, and they know that I'm very honest and very open and very. It's hard to. It's hard to not notice that. So I'm pretty open about it, about everything, and I'll talk about my insecurities if I sense that they're having a hard time like articulating them, but I always ask them rather than saying, what don't you like about yourself, which sounds like a horrible thing to say, but so many people like go into sessions like that where they're like, well, is there anything you want me to hide? And I'm like, let's change that. And so I asked them instead.
If you go that route.
So I asked them instead, what do you love about yourself? Like, what are your favorite features? Like tell me what your favorite personality traits are. I don't make it all about appearance. And, some women are still like, they start the conversation with, well, let me tell you what I don't like first.
Right.
And, I'm a businesswoman and I'm a woman and I understand, like I get it, but I try to shift that, and I do a pretty good job of that in my studio and working with these women, and they get to the end of their session and forget that they're nude. They're and they're just comfortable for the first time ever, they're like, wow, this is amazing. And I think a lot of it has to do with just how comfortable I am with nudity. Honestly, It's just, I'm desensitized. So
not a thing for you.
I'm not making it a big deal. So they're not, they're not like cowering and hiding themselves. So it's a really cool process. And then I have them come in for their photo reveal a couple of weeks later and make it really theatrical. We do a really nice slideshow with music and, all of that. And we have the tissues on standby.
Yeah, everything's
they
ready.
almost always cry and they're just, they can't believe like how amazing, and how they always say like, I look so confident. And I'm like, that's exactly what you're supposed to look like. That's amazing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where can people see your work and your stuff? Where do people find you?
So I am everywhere. Everywhere online I could be. So my website is KaraMarieStudios.com. Kara with the K. And my Instagram is at Kara Marie Studios. Facebook is Kara Marie Studios. So they can. Instagram is probably my most heavily used platform.
Sure.
But they can find me any of those places. And now we have the boudoir series with the Portrait Masters, which is awesome. Yeah. So the portraitmasters.com, and you go in their shop, and we just released it's a 48 lesson boudoir series.
Wow.
Talks about confidence. We do lighting, we do posing, we do the whole nine. So it covers a little bit of the business side, the marketing side, all of that. Yep.
Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. You're so welcome.
Well, it was a pleasure. And I like look at all the stuff that you're doing, and I feel motivated by it, and then I feel tired at the same time.
You and me both. Yeah.
Well, keep getting plenty of sleep and keep getting after it.
Yeah, I will do so. Thank you so much, Jed.